What's going on, everybody? We're back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Thursday, November 2nd, 2023. We had an electric Dynamite last night, which we're going to fully break down. We have an electric throwback topic, which we're also going to fully break down. And I'm riding with the usual suspects today. It's perfect. The throwback crew's here. I'm going to start first by introducing my good friend from out in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, that is, for those of you over in the UK. Anthony Ricciardi, how are you doing? Head of opinions. Good to see you on a Throwback Thursday.
Yeah, make sure that they don't get confused with Philadelphia, Mississippi. Nicely done. Been a long week. Should be fun to be talking about wrestling yet again. I did not go to the show last night, unlike last week. And we will be talking about one of the most controversial segments in wrestling history for the throwback.
I can't wait. Somebody might have had a gun, as they would say. Now, up next, of course, from the DMV. Not Dude Love this time. Not Dude Love. But my good friend, and as I like to call him, the Tuesday Night Delight. Today, billing himself as Brock Lesnar, but Shad, as you, me, and the rest of the audience know him. How are you?
Beast in Carnage, Brock Lesnar. Now I'm playing around with the names. I'm gonna try to give y'all some wrestling puns that got to deal with me here and there. But I'm good, man. Fun episode of Dynamite. Some good, some bad. That's how it goes with these wrestling shows. And very, very good throwback topic today. So I'm excited, man. Let's get into it.
I'm stoked as well, my friend, and good to see you once again. We've had a blast this week so far, but let's get into our first topic. MJF spent the entire night looking, finding, thinking about who he was going to partner with. This is a tough decision for anyone, at least as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you got to be able to trust your teammates. You know, that's why they have general managers and heads of baseball operations, heads of football operations, and all sports. You need to know. And for Max to have to do this himself, I loved it. Yesterday, I said it'd be cool to see him maybe reunite with FTR and some of those guys. No, but what I originally said is this is the time. It's the Acclaimed. And once again, I was right. I'm kidding. It's not about that, though. I loved it. The partnership with the Acclaimed, the spots, the moments. It was hysterical across the board. Anthony, I'm going to toss it straight to you. Were you as thoroughly entertained as I was? Because there was a lot of charisma in this ring, and I really just enjoyed it. It was good old-fashioned fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed Max trying to find partners. Now, he is a scumbag. Everyone knows that. That's why it would be so difficult for him to find a partner or three partners in this situation. Adam Cole told him, go to Joe. He wouldn't go to Joe. He defaced Darby's nameplate, which I thought was kind of funny. Jericho slammed the door in his face. The Acclaimed made sense because they kept teasing it. I was a little surprised, I guess, because he's injured, why they didn't throw in Danhausen and maybe the Best Friends as another group that he turns down, because we know his history with Danhausen. But the Acclaim made sense. Again, you had to suspend disbelief here that Max Caster spent money and knew Max's sizes for boots and trunks and everything else because he didn't know he was going to pick him. So you had to suspend that, but it was an entertaining match for what it was. You know, Caster taking the hit for Max, and Max still not wanting to do the scissor, and Billy Gunn like told him off, and then he did it. You know, it made sense. It was an entertaining little thing. I don't think it's going to extend much, but then again, maybe they will. Maybe Max becomes Max's tag partner until Adam comes back to fill the Ring of Honor void. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
I hear you, and I thought it was interesting too. I will say with the sizes thing, it totally reminded me of, I don't know if you watched 2.5 Men, but like Rose, like of course he knew his sizes. You know what I mean? Like that. I will say that one popped me. I get where you're coming from on this.
It adds a layer.
Like, it got me where you're like, okay,
It
that's funny. Like
it adds a layer of creep to it because
Yeah.
it's like his obsession going, yeah, I know
Right.
your shoe size.
Well, and he's been texting him, or not texting him, but tweeting him or Xing him, whatever that is now.
That's
been
probably on the
tweeting
ban
him.
list. Move on.
He's been tweeting him.
Yeah.
And this whole time. Now, I'm gonna toss this one to you, Shad. What did you think of the segment? I like I said, I truly was thoroughly entertained. I'm a huge Acclaimed fan. I'm a huge MJF fan. Do you think there's actually kind of like a future with like this pseudo partnership just because of the hilarity?
Nah, I don't think there's like a long lasting storyline between them. I think it's always something you can go back to just off of chuckles, and obviously everything tied with the Max Caster, not Max MJF, but trying to win him over and whatnot, having that kind of funny, odd dynamic to it. But I liked it. I thought it was a good utilization with adding the group that's super over, having sort of storyline and a good weekly television match. I love everything that they streamlined throughout the episode with, Max trying to kind of, this is like basic kind of like sitcom type of stuff where he's trying to figure out who his partner is going to be. He's got that plan B with the Acclaim just hanging there, but he's trying to find every other option that may be better. And at the end of the day, he just goes with the people that seem to be loyal to him and want to work with him. So I liked all of that. I liked him coming out in the Scissor Me shirt that had his own little flair to it with the good old scarf that had the pink to it as well. The thing that was the most intriguing to me, honestly, though, was the ending and kind of seeing Max take the pin from Switchblade. There's always intrigue when the champ loses the match or takes the pin in the match, and it builds more of a threat to Jay White going into the build to their championship match at the pay-per-view. So I did like that. Overall, it was all pretty solid. And one last thing I did like out of him trying to find partners, I love the backstage segment between him and Wardlow. I like Wardlow choking him and telling him that he ain't forget he ruined his life and he's coming for his title. So all of that was great.
100%. I loved it too. Do you think Jay White is the one to take the belt though off MJF? I would put that in both of you guys' court here.
I wouldn't. I don't think the Jay White of New Japan, I think possible, but the version of this, not so much. I don't really think so.
I hear you there 100%. Shad, what do you think? Jay White? No.
Nah, I don't think I think that was kind of his win. It's kind of like when Jay Uso pinned Roman in that match. That's kind of like, oh, he got the pin on the champ. So I don't think he's gonna beat Max, but hey man, who knows? Anything's possible in pro wrestling.
Yeah, that is the truth, to say the very least. And speaking of anything being possible, who would have said last year that Orange Cassidy would be the guy to make a title like he has and to really actually honestly establish himself as a workhorse? Like, the laziest guy on the irony of it in hindsight, I missed. And I wish I didn't miss. Not that I didn't love Orange Cassidy, but I always thought comedy character. And not that I don't love Danhausen. I love Danhausen. Danhausen is a comedy character. Orange Cassidy is a work. The juxtaposition of the laziest guy on the roster is the workhorse is pure comedy.
I always say I love that oxymoron of that too.
It is. It's old school. It's brilliant, and I really, really, really love it. Then you look at the wrestler's wrestler in Claudio Castagnoli. That's who we have, right? The exactly who you'd coach someone to be, right? Is he can do it all, wrestle any style. He is the wrestler's wrestler. This to me was magic last night. I truly enjoyed this match. I really, really, really can't emphasize enough how good I think Claudio is at professional wrestling. Like, he is so dang good. It's silly. It just is. I've never been able to figure out how he hasn't reached bigger heights than knocking off Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. You know, he's so darn good. And then you add in Orange Cassidy, who is over right now. I get that the exchange on the international title was, you know, a bit fluky, but he really made that belt anyway. And so what? We had to reset. Injuries happen. That's pro wrestling. And at the end of the day, I enjoyed this match and I enjoy the future of the international title. I want to get your thoughts though, Anthony. How did you feel about it? Were you in agreement that this was just absolutely sublime?
Yeah, this is one of those things that you and I had argued about off air multiple times because you've been a big Orange fan. And I always felt when he's getting going, when he's doing the workhorse stuff, I like him. What I didn't like was the little taps and kicks, which he's kind of gotten away from. And he really has elevated that title to the point where it is probably the most prestigious title in that company outside the world title. He's added value to that. That to me is the secondary title in the company. It's not the TNT. It's the international title. One of the things that, and I know he's probably been doing it forever, but being there last week live and seeing it, I don't know why. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to it because I was a little indifferent towards Orange, but I popped, and I know he's probably been doing it forever. The one solo pyro, the one it reminded me of Gilbert back in the day.
Yes.
Like the one solo.
The tiny pop.
Yeah, it cracked me up. I don't know why, and I'm sure he's probably been doing it forever, and I just probably just never paid attention to it. But
it's actually more recent. But keep going. I'm sorry.
So Claudio is one of those talents that he reminds me of Kurt Angle, but he's underrated like Christian. Like, management has never really seen how good he really is. And he has incredible chemistry with Orange. And I think the huge reason for that is Claudio is very strong. And Orange is like a paperweight. So, like, he's able to throw him around and flip him into positions that he can't just anybody. He could probably do it on almost anybody, but not as easily, and it doesn't look as smooth. I thought it was a very well done match. Orange is barely squeaking by again. I'm hoping they're not doing the repeat. That's the only thing I don't want them to do. I don't want them to be repeating of like, he's barely getting by and then loses to Mox again. That would be a mistake. He should go over Mox this time. But I don't know if that's the direction they're going to go. But I thought this match really delivered, and I liked it.
I love it. And I agree with you on the Moxley sentiment because, I mean, I was there for that match. It was outstanding. It was. I don't have a bad thing to say about it. It was awesome. I will say, though, the one thing I do slightly disagree with Anthony, I love the Sweet Shin music.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
Only because it's so funny.
It's fine if he is strictly being a comedy character like a Danhausen. But if you want to be taken legitimately serious, if you're in the middle of a fight and you are trying to barely maintain holding that title, you shouldn't be tapping. That's my only thing.
Totally true.
Realistically, if you're in a fight, Clark, you ain't
It's
doing
very
shin
true.
music.
It's very true. And I'm with you. And I also agree. But the pyro is hysterical.
Oh yeah.
And one of my favorite Orange moments of all time, when he was in the casino battle royal and he gets in the ring and everybody's knocked out on the outside and there's no ladder in the ring and he just got on his tiptoes.
I do remember that.
I lost it for that. So I do think there is something to the comedy character, but striking a balance is the key. Which is, I think, kind of alluding to your point that you made.
Look at somebody like R-Truth. He's
Right.
a comedy character, but can go. Like
he knows.
He knows.
But
the
I
line
also
where-
think, in a way, Orange has separated himself from that by the work rate.
No. But you know what I mean. Like Truth can go when he has to go, but he knows when to do the comedy.
Definitely. Okay. Now let's talk about something very serious. We have Tony Khan with another major announcement. Believe it or not, I know, guys. I'm stunned.
No way.
Can't believe a major announcement. You must be kidding me.
Well, what is it?
Shad, I'm tossing it straight to you. You break this down. You tell me.
Oh
tell
man, oh man. Mr.
What did he announce?
Tony Khan had a major announcement, and he wanted the AEW fans to know that they can purchase their tickets early as next month for All In the UK for the August, whatever it may be. This was a ticket sale announcement. Come on, man. All right. Now, I'm going to cut him a little slack because this graphic for major announcement did happen earlier in the day. It wasn't something that was built up last week or weeks before or whatnot. But you have to be very careful with your words, especially when you are AEW, where they're known for giving us, major surprises, right? Debuting new titles, debuting new wrestlers, whatever it may be. They're very, very good at this. Last week, they had Ric Flair, which we'll talk about later, come in as Sting's surprise present for his retirement. These are all pretty big things. You didn't need to say this was a major announcement. And I'm going to be completely real. And I said this earlier in our group chat. Tony Khan is feeling himself a little too much about the ticket sales and the success of All In the UK. He's flashing the number of how many tickets he sold, how many people are in attendance, and he's making it like he's just shining that in the wrestling world's face. And he feels it has that much significance, that much importance that you're going to tell us that tickets are going on sale for it for next year. It's August. We're in November right now. A lot of the people that are going to buy it are going to be people that are in the UK. Maybe you're doing it for people that maybe want to fly out or whatnot. That's cool, but you didn't need to make this a major announcement for the episode of Dynamite. And you guys had me thinking, truthfully, we had an awesome little music vignette with Doja Cat's Paint the Town Red that displayed all the wonderful women talent on AEW's roster, right? Like that's something that has a lot. Like I'm a music person. I'm a rapper. Doja Cat is a popular artist. That's a very popular song. There's a lot of significance when you put that in a vignette and you put your women wrestler on it and you put it on social media because it'll gravitate and gather a lot of people's eyes to see it. For that not to maybe do it as an announcement for them or even book them, right? Like even have stronger booking for it. It's a letdown like that. Like I still feel like that's a slap in the face. Like you don't do something like that of importance and not give them the special moment, the special like follow up to it. So it was a big flop. You let a lot of people down because a lot of people did tune in last night thinking, oh, what's this announcement gonna be? Followed by that vignette. It was a big letdown. I was thinking y'all was right. It was gonna be a new title, like something a tournament, whatever it may be, a signing of significance. But for that to be the announcement, major letdown. Like TK, you gotta do better, man. Like that's an accomplishment. Be proud of it. Move on. You got more stuff to do, man. That doesn't need to be the focal point of what it is. So I was really disappointed. What was a great episode? That was definitely the lowest of low points last night.
I couldn't agree with you more. And like, I'll give Tony a break because I know he's just stretched and there's so much going on. But like I said yesterday, I said what I said, and Mercedes Moné could paint the town red in AEW. And if that's the announcement, now we're talking. And that was my biggest hope. I thought, like, now we just featured the whole women's division. Let's do a tournament, and maybe she's the surprise entrant in the 1 seed, or something like that. I don't mind it. It's playoff season in baseball. The World Series just ended yesterday. Not bad timing. She had the blue hair in WWE for a long time on SmackDown. Comes out with the red. Oh, paint it, right? With the song.
Yeah, that would have been if that was her song. Come on, man.
Kidding me?
That'd be crazy.
It'd be crazy.
But that's the thing. Like those are like it's just your choice. It's like your choice of words. Like it could have even been something more like little. Like it didn't have to be a Mercedes. Like it could have been something like TV deal, new title, whatever it may be. To say you're selling tickets, you could have put that on your Twitter page to let people know and had Excalibur because he gonna mention it a million times from now till then, right? Like
100%. Yeah, and that's no knock on, like, it's very cool that they're running Wembley once again.
For sure.
It's just it's almost a year away. It's not a year away. It's 9 months, right? Away. But I mean, come on. Like you said, you quoted the great Keyshawn Johnson. Come on, man. I'm going to use my own little phrase. What are we doing here? And it's not, that was my least favorite segment last night. And that's not just me trying to bury Tony Khan, but like, didn't dig it.
What I got out of that was that the Khans have Christmas up since July. I got that.
Oh yeah, that was the best announcement of that thing.
Yeah.
You're definitely right about that. They're very humanized with that. There's a lot of people who still got their Christmas trees up.
100%. Let's talk about Adam Copeland, the artist formerly known as Edge, and Brian Cage.
Brian Cage.
Sorry. Oh my goodness.
You were so excited of him winning that 6-man tag title last night.
A horrifying biff by me there, guys. Thank you for catching me on that one. Page, it does say Cage. Not Page, not Brian Cage. Christian Cage. As we all know him as. Brutal Ben. This is on you. I'm blaming you, Ben. You typed out the topics and you thought I would see Cage and think it was Christian. Even after watching the show? Come on, Ben.
As Ben calls him, Christian Cage.
Christian Cage.
Cage.
It's just type Christian. I know who that is. Goodness gracious sakes alive. It's not the point. I loved it. By the way, it's Edge and Christian. Let's talk about it like what it is. You can't just read the topics list though and do that. But I want to toss this one to you, Anthony.
Excuse so bad.
I know. I want to toss this to you, Anthony. We've got Edge and Christian in the same ring. Once again, how much fun was this?
Yeah, it's a compelling story. And I've said this before on the air and previously, best friends make the best rivals. They know you inside and out, and they bring the best out in you. And that's what we expected when they started this whole rivalry. Christian saying, "I'm going to break your neck." That was a great line because everyone knows Edge's history. Edge's reply back that he was going to beat him really was not a great comeback. The one thing I didn't like because I did really like this. I didn't like that Edge got the spear on Christian. My opinion is, and this to me is 101, when you have a heel rivalry like this, Edge shouldn't have got him. The first time they touch, or the first time Edge gets an upper hand on Christian, is at the pay-per-view. You hit him with your move, your famous move, like, and you're weeks out. I would have had either Christian avoid it, and Edge accidentally spears Darby or Sting, which brings more heat on Christian for moving and creates a little heat between Edge and Darby and Sting. Sting's going towards his retirement. I'm hoping we get an Edge Sting match before that's done. You could have laid the seed for that with the spear. Or maybe one of Christian's cult members took the spear on his behalf. I think there were a number of things you could have done, but Edge connecting with it, I thought was a mistake.
100%. I hear you there. I will say though that, does anyone have a cleaner spear than Edge?
Oh no, it's a phenomenal hit, but I don't think Christian should have took the hit.
Yeah, no, I know your point, but it is just always fun to see it, and you know what I mean. I'm not even, because I agree. I think Christian, being the cat and mouse type character he is right now too, it would make sense for him to have that scouted. In the words of the great Jim Ross, he had it scouted.
There was the delay there for him to turn around.
Right.
Which would have been the perfect thing for him to dive out of the way. And Edge hits Darby or Sting or whoever. He hits somebody else.
100%.
Who's this Edge gentleman you guys are talking about?
Copeland. Adam.
I'm just joking around.
The guy from Vikings.
I saw Bobby Petito's comment.
He's got a great comment. I'm looking... Bobby Petito in the comments with, I'm looking forward to watching Adam Copeland wrestle at Full Gear. I am too. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's going to be awesome. Bobby was also laughing earlier at my little botch there on the segment introduction. And then Willow Nightingale is great, which...
Oh, he's leading us to our next topic.
Shout out Bobby Petito.
Bobby Petito got the script.
Bobby's on it. Did you get the script, Bobby? It's Hikaru Shida, one of my favorites in the ring, against maybe my absolute current favorite wrestler in women's wrestling, Willow Nightingale. I was so excited about this match. I thought it delivered. Someday it will be Willow's time. It wasn't last night, but someday. And I think that day's sooner than we might realize. What do you think, Shad?
Oh, yeah. Well, first and foremost, finally a good Hikaru Shida match after these last two that were complete flops, in my opinion. No offense to Ruby Soho. No offense to Abaddon. We'll see you next October. Those two matches were not for me. The match last night, definitely for me. They had a great fight. Both of these two have good chemistry. Their styles mesh well. They know what their strong suits in. Hikaru Shida is a warrior. She's super strong within her strikes and all of that. And Willow is a powerhouse. So good victory for Shida. Both are baby faces. I like them kind of leading into it towards the end. But yeah, I love Willow Nightingale as a future women's champion on AEW, like you were mentioning, because she will get her moment. And I said it once before. Willow Nightingale has the possibility of being AEW's Bianca Belair. And I say that as a super powerhouse, lovable babyface that you just can't hate, right? Has such a contagious personality and aesthetic, but is a beast in the ring and can carry her reign for it. And I think you have to build it up at some point because you have something special with her. In regards to Shida, we're going to get a continuation between her and Toni Storm. I don't need to talk about Toni Storm more than I talk about every week. She's killing it. The thing that was the most interesting, the thing I liked the most, though, was what happened outside of it on another sub feud. We had Julia Hart come in and we had Sky Blue come in, and I like the interaction between them two, because we've been leaning towards the idea of Sky Blue. She's got like the crazy, like her mascara is like crying out of her eyes, right? And we after she got the mist, and we're thinking she's going heel. Well, she blew the blue mist at Julia, so it kind of took a little bit of a turn. So I'm very curious to see what they're going with that. Is she, a like good, like a baby face devil girl versus the heel devil girl? Like I'm definitely intrigued to see what's gonna go on. It took a weird, like a different turn to it, or maybe she's just playing like joking around and messing around, and she's just you know effing with her. But who knows? I'm definitely intrigued by that. But I like that. I think they had a good. I think I want to see more women's matches and segments on Dynamite, especially with all the star power they have. But I like the utilization of what happened last night, especially with the more like up and coming people with Willow, Sky Blue, and Julia.
Yeah. Willow's so dang good, and you mentioned Sky Blue too, and then Julia Hart. I mean, come on, and then you add in Tony Storm. It's funny, we've been complaining about this women's division, and the more we look at it, the more we praise
My
the
complaint is
talent.
my complaint's never the
not-
talent.
No. That's what I mean. That
Yeah.
was the point I was going to make. It's like we never complain about the talent
Yeah,
because it's so there and it's so obviously there. I think that's part of the reason it's so frustrating.
dude, that
Yeah.
commercial you saw
Yeah,
Britt Baker, Ruby Soho, Saraya, Sheeta, Statlander,
Nyla
Britt,
Rose,
Nyla Rose. You had like all the killers on that commercial, and that's not even Willow. You didn't even show Julia Hart,
Willow,
Sky Blue,
Julia, Penelope Ford,
the bunny whenever she comes back. They got a deep roster of women that
Ruby
really starts
Soho.
Athena. Athena. Let's not forget
Athena.
Athena is the best women's worker on who signed the AEW. I know she's ROH technically, but
Harley
she's
Cameron,
Harley Cameron, funniest person on the AEW roster. Like,
100%.
yeah, you got a deep roster. You just got to give them more time.
Roster is loaded. Abaddon, Bobby Petito added as well.
Abaddon
But
too. I'm not the biggest Abaddon fan, but you got her too.
before we get to throwback, let's talk quickly about Ric Flair. Speaking of throwbacks, Ric Flair has apparently signed a long-term deal with AEW. Merchandising, the whole nine. Hopefully we get him in the video game because the chops are not really on point in Fight for Forever. Despite the fact that I actually enjoy playing the game, we need some chop animations. And I'm hoping Rick gets in the studio, straps up in the light bulb outfit, and starts throwing some leather.
Rick,
That would
right
be
now
exciting to me.
you want him to get animation chops at this moment in his life.
Yeah, no, I do. I think that would
Oh,
be
man.
electric for the game. Just personally, sorry, I had to squeeze that in while we're here. But look, what do you guys think? Anthony, I'm gonna toss it to you. I know you're a big Flair fan as well. What do you think?
I question it from the sense of supposedly it's a 4-year deal. Rick's 74 now. I saw firsthand last week Flair had to be helped down the steps. I am fearful that he will get the itch, which he has not stopped, on wanting to wrestle again. And AEW granting that wish. We all saw Flair's last match. He should not be wrestling again. And I'm not saying that because I have last match merch that would lose its value if he wrestled again. Just for Flair's health, he has a pacemaker. He almost died a few years ago. I get it, signing him for merchandising wise, but in the situation where WWE owns 99% of his history, what do you, other than having him manage somebody, what are you really going to do with a 74-year-old Ric Flair? I would hope you're not doing him weekly. I mean, he wasn't there last night, but I would hope you just bring him out for special occasions, and really you're signing him for merch and to try to get a better TV deal out of the Turner people because of nostalgia. I would assume that's the direction they're going with this. It's more of a merch deal than anything else. But whatever you do not have him wrestle again.
Yeah, I agree with definitely no more wrestling. 100%. But I do think that his value I mean, look at what the influence he's had in hip hop, right? Shot, you can speak on that. You know what I mean? I mean, like he's referenced all the time. He's still a huge entity, and it's very clear that he
No,
wants to
yes.
work and be active. So I don't want to knock that as long as he's not wrestling, to your point,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That'd be the only thing I would say. Like, I think it's a great signing if this is a place he can show up to work, enjoy himself a little bit in the way that back in the day with Evolution, you know, he was able to enjoy himself at work again. It was a little bit different, but on an even smaller scale, right? Whether it's a manager or just time to time promotional stuff, and it's just a place for him to go too.
You could, and it would make sense, and I don't mean to cut Shot off, but the one thing you could do with him, if you're going to have him on screen, make him be a GM. They haven't
Yeah,
had that.
outstanding.
I mean, he's done it. He did it briefly in WWE. I think he did it in WCW for a short time. I would do that. That way you get the most out of him. He's 74. He doesn't have to get physical, but he can still do his niche stuff.
Great t-shirts, great interactions with the younger generation,
Mm-hmm.
more classic passing it along to the next
Mm-hmm.
guys, and everything that he's built his entire career and persona on. I think that's the absolute move, Anthony. That's a great call. With that, though, let's get into Throwback Thursday. Let's talk about something. Speaking of controversy, the network didn't love this one. Let's talk about Austin and Pillman's got a gun. Pillman's got a gun. Wild move. USA Network in the 90s. I'm going to go to you, Anthony, first. And then I'm going to go to you, Shad. Anthony, dude, Pillman's got a gun?
Mm-hmm. November of 96, Brian Pillman was injured. He had his ankle operated on, and he was in the middle of a feud, or the Hart Foundation was in a feud with Stone Cold. And Stone Cold and Brian Pillman have a very good relationship in real life, or they did. They were former tag partners, the Hollywood Blondes in WCW. So when they were feuding, they did a whole segment. Austin's going to Pillman's house. And Austin breaks in, and Pillman pulls out a Glock. They cut the feed to pretend like he didn't shoot the gun. They came back. Kevin Kelly said, "Oh, Austin ran off when he saw the gun, and then he came back." And they did a whole thing holding him back. I went back and rewatched it. There were moments where when Austin was approaching the house, Pillman's friends, who were actually less stature trained students, Austin's beating them up in the driveway. And like one of them, he's like drowning in a kiddie pool. It's one of the most infamous segments. Pillman was known as the crazy loose cannon character, which is a character we're definitely got to talk back on a throwback when we have time to really kind of cover his whole career. But this was a defining moment. It's a moment that got them in huge amounts of trouble with the USA Network and partners overseas and advertisers. They had to apologize. When they showed the footage, they had to pixelate the gun. Kevin Kelly said in an interview, it was a real gun. He doesn't know whether or not it was loaded or not. It's one of the most infamous segments. Brian Pillman Jr., funny enough, he said it in an interview because in the lead up when they were doing the whole thing, they said Pillman's kids are staying at the grandparents because of the threat of Austin coming. But so Pillman Jr. said, we were there. We were in the bedroom. They kept us upstairs, didn't tell us what was going on. So we're all freaking out as little kids of what's going on. We're hearing broken glass. But it's one of the most iconic moments. It's probably the most defining moment of Pillman's career. And it's out of anything he's done, that's probably the most defining of moments for him.
It is definitely, if not number one, it's top 2 or 3, right? It's one of those things where it's fascinating because in hindsight, the time and place when it occurred, right, in society, it like USA viewed it as unacceptable.
Oh yeah,
it's the irony.
And WWE said we'll never use a gun again. And then 2 short years later,
Bang.
There's a segment in the ring. Austin's holding a gun against Vince McMahon's head to get what he wants, and the famous bang flag comes out. And what is remembered is Vince pisses his pants.
He peed his pants.
So, they're the only two times that I could recall guns ever being used in wrestling.
Yeah, it's a fascinating. Oh, and ironically, I'll give you one more. Arn Anderson did mention the Glock in the Cody Rhodes.
He mentioned, but he didn't pull it
there
out.
There was no physical gun, but it is one of the wildest things in the world. And not only that, weirdly was never able to be fully paid off because of injuries. And obviously, Brian Pillman's.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the craziest.
Pillman was so ahead of his time. That loose cannon character. We seriously, Clark. We really we need to talk about that on a future throwback. Because that character was so groundbreaking.
What were your memories of that one, Shad?
I mean, the memories is just how much of a chaotic outroar it got to it, right? Like just him actually holding his peace within the promo and have it on that on TV. And you think about it, if they had that happen in current days, you may not be able to let stuff like that fly. But me personally, I'm not one person that is your thoughts on firearms, but it definitely played well to his character, and it played a lot of realism to it in a sense too. And it as within TV, you're kind of just oh damn, what is about to happen? This guy is really unhinged, and he may be trying to protect himself or whatnot. So it definitely had a kind of a OMG moment to it. But yeah, man, Brian Pillman, man, I definitely agree with Anthony. He's a person that was ahead of his time in regards to how he was able to play characters and whatnot. So
I couldn't agree more. And it's funny because I also think about, I mean, dude, I don't want to say con man, but legitimately the fact that he worked everybody backstage, he worked workers, right? You can't really say that about many people. You know what I mean? He scared people to death.
The infamous story with Pillman, and I know we'll cover it eventually, but the infamous story was the loose cannon character. Very few people knew what exactly was going on. And the rumor is that he convinced Eric Bischoff to give him a legitimate release from WCW. Bischoff is adamant the plan was he was going to leave WCW, go to ECW, maybe go to WWF, and then come back. The plan was for him to always come back. I personally don't think that was the case. I think he wanted out, and I think he wanted to go to WWF, where he ended up. But obviously, his issues ultimately led to his passing. But it is one of, so ahead of his time. One of the famous stories was, he wanted to run out on the field during a Super Bowl naked and tape himself to the goalpost. Wasn't something to that effect?
I don't think it was tape himself to the goal. Maybe it was.
It was during the Super Bowl.
It's crazy. But I mean, he brilliant mind for professional wrestling and entertainment, period. I mean, I think about the Bobby Heenan interaction. I mean, that's crazy. And that would be the only other moment I would put head to head with the Pillman's got a gun moment. That would be the one where I'm like, that is so memorable because it's the brain.
And Bobby wasn't aware of it. And Bobby,
he was furious.
Bobby thought it was a fan, and Bobby had a neck history.
Yes.
That's why he freaked out. He dropped an F-bomb on air.
Oh, yeah.
Because he thought it was a fan jumping him from behind.
Oh, yeah. It's an absolute classic. With that, though, that's going to bring us to the end of another absolutely delightful Throwback Thursday. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Bobby Petito, as usual, you're the man. If you haven't liked and subscribed, the thumbs up, the comments, all of that means the world to us. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow at noon Pacific I do believe it's actually an hour later in the UK. I think it's 9 because we haven't done the daylight savings thing.
Mhm.
And so that'll be 3 Eastern, though, 2 Central, and then, of course, 9 a.m. Hawaiian. Thank you so much for tuning in. Check us out on the whole network of shows that we have going. We got Off the Air. We've got Sold Separately. We might even bring you another Sold here coming up soon. And we've got Take It to the Table, brought to you by Chaos, of course. And we got a bunch of shows. Watch them. Thank you so much for tuning in. Talk to you soon.